you don't realize you're disappearing. Some men don't disappear because they die. They disappear because no one truly sees them anymore. They still show up in life as usual. They wake up on time. They go to work. They nod at familiar faces on the street. But what's gone is their real presence in anyone's heart. They live without being touched. They exist without being connected. Loneliness in men doesn't look the way most people think. It's not about being single or having no one around. It's when you're standing in the crowd but feel completely invisible. It's when you sit next to someone and still can't say anything real. It's when you keep liking your friends' photos or sending a laughing emoji in the group chat, but you haven't had a single conversation that made you feel truly seen. One man, 39 years old, once said, "I have over 2,000 friends on Facebook, but not a single person I can ask to grab a beer with me the day I lost my job. And what haunted me most was that I felt that was normal. Because I believed I was supposed to be that way. A man shouldn't complain, shouldn't burden anyone, shouldn't need anyone. But if you really pause for a few seconds and ask yourself something very simple, you might be shocked. When you're in pain, real pain, who is the first person you want to call if no answer comes to mind? Then maybe, just maybe, you've already started disappearing from your own life. And what's even more terrifying is that this loneliness doesn't arrive overnight. It comes little by little, through subtle behaviors and unconscious choices that repeat day after day. There are 6 very specific things many men do regularly, things that seem harmless on the surface but are quietly pushing them further away from others, from connection, from themselves. If you've been feeling emptier with each passing day, then maybe, just maybe, what you're about to hear next is exactly what you need. 6 habits that make you feel more alone over time. 1. You use screens to escape emotion. You might not realize it, but every time you pick up your phone, open YouTube, scroll through random videos, or check social media repeatedly throughout the day, you're not really connecting. You're avoiding. The content you consume doesn't actually bring you closer to anyone. It just keeps you busy. It fills the silence. It distracts you from one uncomfortable truth. There's an emptiness inside you that you're not sure how to face. You're not connecting. You're soothing your sadness with noise. You're using screens like a thin blanket to cover feelings you haven't dared to look at. But when all of it turns off, the silence returns, and everything you tried to escape is still right there. A 28-year-old man once said, "I play video games for nearly 6 hours a day because at least in the game, I get to be someone that people actually need." It might sound small, but it's painfully real for many modern men. When you feel like you don't matter in the real world, you start looking for that feeling in virtual ones. But here's the real question you need to ask yourself. Are you truly enjoying your time? Or are you just trying to forget that you feel empty inside? If you can't remember the last time you laughed with someone in real life, chances are you've already started drifting away from the world that matters. And to come back, you don't need to do anything grand. Try turning off your phone for 30 minutes. Call someone you haven't talked to in a long time. Don't text. Call. Hear a real voice. Let a real conversation pull you back into the real world. Because only real people can help you touch real feelings again. The danger is the more time you spend living in a simulated world, the more you start to believe you don't need anyone at all. And that is the beginning of a kind of loneliness deeper than any sadness you've ever known. 2. You convince yourself you're fine being alone. We're taught that men must be strong, handle things on their own, stand firm without help, need no one. That idea has been passed down through generations, not always in words, but in glances, in silence, in phrases like real men don't show weakness. And so you grow up believing that the less you need others, the stronger you are. But being independent doesn't mean locking yourself away. Maybe you've built a fortress around you, one no one can break into, but also one no one dares to enter. You're strong, yes, but you're also alone. A 50-year-old father once said, "I raised my son to be tough, to handle life on his own." Now he's 27 and he doesn't open up to anyone, not even me. He didn't cry when he said that, son, but there was a look in his eyes, a look of quiet regret, because he realized the thing he thought was protection had become a cage, and now his son lives inside it. So here's the question for you. Are you really fine being alone, or are you just afraid someone might see how much you're hurting? Do you stay silent because you're strong, or because you're afraid of being rejected if you let someone in? If you can't remember the last time you said something truly personal to someone, maybe you've been living as someone even you don't recognize anymore. But you don't have to change everything overnight. Start small. Share one personal thing with one friend you trust. Just one thing. Just once. That might be the first crack where the light can start to come in. But if you keep holding everything in, there will come a point where all of your emotions get poured into one single person. Your partner. And what happens if that person walks away from you? That's what we'll have to face in the next part. 3. You rely on one relationship for everything. When you no longer have close friends, no longer have brothers you can sit with in silence, no longer have anyone to call late at night when your thoughts feel too heavy, you start placing everything onto one person, your partner. And at that point, love is no longer just the connection between two hearts. It becomes your only shelter from the emptiness inside, a bridge of love, forced to carry the weight of an entire fortress of loneliness you built around yourself. It may sound romantic, but in truth, it's incredibly fragile. No, because no one can carry the full weight of your unhealed loneliness. Someone once said, "She wasn't just my girlfriend. She was my friend, my family, my therapist, and when she left, I had nothing. No one called, no one asked, no one knew how I was doing." Do you see yourself in that story if you lost your partner today? Who would be there to hear you cry? Who would know you're not okay? If you don't have a clear answer, maybe you've already become too emotionally dependent on one single relationship to stay afloat. But a human life can't be balanced on one fragile thread like that. You need more than one anchor, and sometimes, all it takes to rebuild what you lost is one small step. Reach out to an old friend, not for work, not out of politeness, just to talk, just to sit down and remember a time when you weren't alone. Because in those imperfect connections, you may rediscover the kind of normal you've been missing. But if you keep placing all your emotions into one person, then when love falls apart, you don't just lose them. You lose your voice, and when there's no one left to hear it, you learn to go silent. But that silence isn't harmless. It's the very thing that begins to eat away at you. And that's what we'll confront in the next part. 4. You no longer say what you truly feel. No one ever taught you how to share your emotions, but everyone taught you how to hide them. When you're in pain, you grit your teeth and keep going. When you're exhausted, you brush it off with a smile. When you're hurt, you simply say, "I'm fine," because growing up, you were told that showing emotion is weakness, that it's a burden, that it's unmanly, Over time, you learn to wear an invisible suit of armor, strong, impressive, safe, but also lonely, because no one can truly reach you if you never take it off. No one can truly understand you if all you ever say is, "I'm good." A young man once shared, "I broke down crying in front of my close friends during a moment of burnout. They didn't judge me. They just laughed. They said I was being soft. After that, I only told jokes. It might seem harmless, but that was the last time he ever said something real." And the truth is, many people live exactly like that. They still hang out, go to work, show up to events, but no one really knows what's going on inside them anymore. So here's the question: who truly knows what you're going through right now? If you can't name anyone, maybe you've been holding it all in for too long. But you don't have to open up to the whole world. Just start with one person. Send one honest message to someone you once trusted. Maybe it's an old friend. Maybe it's someone in your family. You don't have to say everything, just one thing, something real, and because sometimes that one small truth is the only door left to reconnect with the real world. But if you stop speaking, if you stop sharing, you'll slowly stop reaching out to anyone at all. And when you stop reaching out to others, the rest of the world starts to stop reaching out to you. That's what comes next. 5. You stop reaching out and assume no one needs you. You used to be the one who always started the conversation, the one who suggested meeting up, the one who sent a message just to check in. But somewhere along the way, you stopped. You went quiet, you waited, and you started telling yourself something that sounds reasonable. If they wanted to see me, they'd reach out first. It sounds mature, but in truth, it's a trap. Because deep down, it's not that you truly believe they don't care. You're just afraid that if you reach out, they might ignore you. And that fear convinces you that silence is safer. But what happens when both sides think exactly the same? A wall begins to rise. Not because anyone wanted distance, but because no one dared to take the first step. You built that wall to protect yourself. And then you forgot how to open the door. A 40-year-old man once shared, "I didn't text anyone for 3 months. Not because I was busy, but because I was afraid they wouldn't reply. And what scared me most was feeling like I didn't matter to anyone." But the truth is, this waiting is slowly making you disappear from the lives of others. So here's the real question. Are you waiting? Or are you quietly making yourself disappear? Try something simple today. Text one person, just one. Nothing dramatic. Just say, "Hey, how have you been?" You might be surprised to learn they still remember you. You might reopen a door that's been closed for years. And if no one responds, so be it. At least you did your part. You didn't let fear stop you from trying to connect. But the deeper reason you stopped reaching out isn't because you're too busy. It's because you believe, even silently, that you're not good enough, not valuable enough, not important enough for someone to truly care. And that belief, whether you realize it or not, is slowly pulling you away from the world. And that's what we need to face in the final part. 6. You think you must succeed before you deserve love. You push yourself. You work without rest. You set goals. Then tell yourself, "Once I achieve this, I'll let myself go out, meet people, fall in love, connect." Because deep down, you believe that if you're not successful enough, not attractive enough, not financially stable enough, then you're not worthy yet. That belief might seem like motivation, but in reality, it's a prison. Because when you're not where you want to be, you withdraw, you avoid people, You turn down invitations. No, you delay connection with what feels like a valid excuse. Once I'm better, I'll come back. A 31-year-old man once said, I put off every social invitation. I told myself, once I'm making six figures, then I'll be worthy of showing up. He didn't realize he had been absent from his own life for years just because of a standard he created himself. And maybe, just maybe, you're doing the same. Are you really living, or are you waiting for a better version of yourself before you allow yourself to be loved? If you're waiting until you're perfect to show up in the world, you'll be waiting forever, because none of us is ever truly perfect. And connection doesn't come from achievement. It comes from honesty. Try showing up even when you feel like you have nothing impressive to offer. Meet someone not because of what you've accomplished, but because of who you really are. That might be the first time you feel loved not for what you have, but for simply being you. But if you keep believing you must succeed before you're allowed to be loved, you'll always stay on the sidelines of real connection. And when all 6 of these habits quietly repeat themselves, day after day, you'll find yourself entering a deeper kind of loneliness, the kind no one else caused, except you. That's when you need to wake up. And in the final part, you'll hear exactly why you don't have to keep living this way. You're not being left behind. You're leaving yourself behind. Loneliness in men is not an accident. It doesn't happen suddenly. It's not because someone walked away. It's not because the world turned its back on you. It's not because you're invisible. It's the result of something else. The quiet accumulation of small habits. The times you stayed silent instead of speaking your truth. The calls you didn't make. The messages you never sent. The countless moments when you believed you weren't good enough to be loved. All of it adds up, slowly, until one day, you can no longer hear your own voice calling out for connection. But you need to remember this. You don't have to be perfect to be connected. You don't need to be successful. You don't need to be happy all the time. You don't need to have an incredible story to share. You just need to be real enough. Real enough to show someone that you're still here. Real enough to let someone come closer. And if you want to begin again, you can start with something small. Call an old friend. Meet someone face to face instead of just texting. Or share this video with someone you feel might be quietly falling into the dark just like you once did. Sometimes, one small action like that can change the direction of an entire life. And if something in this video reached you, if it touched a part of you you've never spoken out loud, then stay. This channel is for you. Hit subscribe. Because the next video might be exactly what you need to hear tomorrow. And finally, if you're sitting in a dark room, waiting for someone to knock on the door, remember, you don't have to wait. Don't wait for someone to come knock on the door of your darkness. Be the one who steps out first.